Hi, good afternoon. My name is Barbara Chandler, and I am the manager with the Hannibal Square Heritage Center located here in Winter Park. Today, I am celebrating one of our local authors, our very own Dr. Ruth D. Edwards. The title of the book, Becoming a Black Woman, a Theory of Internalized Collective Consciousness. My first memory of being Black is when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I went with Daddy to deliver something to this white family's house. When he knocked, the lady at the door opened the front door. I started up the stairs to go in, and Daddy grabbed my arm and pulled me back. "No, daughter," he said, "we don't go in this door." So I followed him around to the back of the house where the same lady opened the door. Edna D. Edwards, 2008, Personal Communication. I am a Grits, girl raised in the South. I am also the middle of 5 children, born to a registered nurse and a self-educated business owner. We lived in Ottawa, populated predominantly by Black and white families. My siblings and I attended private Catholic schools 25 miles away in the city of Charleston. From childhood to this present moment, I have been conscientious of my skin color and my gender. The two are inseparable to me. As a Black girl, I was always clear that my family had certain expectations for me. My parents and grandparents required we apply ourselves by taking advantage of the educational opportunities many of them never had. Mother, my maternal grandmother, always told us that education is the one thing no one can take away. When I wanted an after-school job to earn pocket money, Mom said, "The only job you have is to study and get good grades." Daddy would reprimand us for earning anything less than an A on our report cards. During a discussion of early memories and childhood at a workshop on a class difference, I realized that I was raised middle class. As a child, I was preoccupied with the socialism of living in the country and going to school in the city, going to church with one set of peers and schooled with another, and not connecting fully to either. The facts are that my maternal grandfather gifted my parents the 2 acres of land that held my childhood home, a 2-story house with my father's business attached to the front. We had a huge backyard and a double garage with 2 cars in it. My mother had a college education, and my father was self-employed. I am the second of 4 daughters. We share some behavioral aspects because of our mutual upbringing. Yet, I have seen similar aspects in sister friends beyond my biological connection. Lewin states that behavior is a function of the person in the environment. Viewed through this lens, my behavior is determined in part by my role in U.S. society. It is framed by my being Black, female, heterosexual, Southern-born, middle class, mostly able-bodied, and Christian. My socially defined roles are part of this formula as well: daughter, niece, sister, aunt, cousin, friend, student, and employee. Parham White and Ajamu maintain that Black people learn to view themselves based on what they are told about their place in the world, who the world says they are, and how they behave in the context of that world. Again, the person's behavior is dictated by the expected or dictated function in that specific environment. Collins states, the convergence of race, gender, and class oppression characteristics of U.S. slavery shaped by all subsequent relationships that women of African descent had within Black families and communities, with employers, and among one another. From birth, a Black woman's lived experience is shaped by her presence and function in societal environments as framed by Lewin and Parham, and unfolds amid the layers of race, gender, and class, according to Collins. The focus of this inquiry was what happens inside a Black girl and how she does behave from the point she first realizes she is Black, female, and is able to recognize the haves and the have-nots in her world. For as long as I have been conscientiously aware of it, I've encountered Black women who could complete my sentences. We knew the same antidotes and adages and often cited the same sources of origin. My mother, my grandmother, my aunt used to say, whatever the saying was. I first noted this while in graduate school at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, Illinois. My circle of Black women colleagues were from Davenport, Iowa, Vivian, Louisiana, Los Angeles, California, Harlem, New York. Following graduation, I went to work in St. Louis, Missouri, where I developed friendships with women born and raised in that city and others who had relocated there from across the U.S. In these locations, the phenom continued. We could finish each other's sentences. After 9 years in St. Louis, I relocated to Orlando, Florida. The occurrence continued here as well with a variation. While the women in the earlier locations were my contemporaries in age and or life experience, the women in my new workplace were aged 20 to 25 years younger. How was this possible? I knew instinctively when I started my doctoral program that I would study some aspect of Black womanhood. My review of the literature revealed nothing about Black women's socialization and development. The two dominant research areas where psychologically mentioned Black women were relative to Black males and or white females. In essence, any research conducted on Black male was presumed to apply to Black women because of race. Any research on white women was presumed applicable to Black women because of gender. This is not my reality. At the advice of my professor, I expanded my search to the feminist literature and there we were. It was like someone opened the floodgates. Still research was spread across multiple disciplines, and there was no conclusive data that explained our development or answer my basic question: how did we get like this? What allowed us to connect on that I know or I understand level? This book represents my attempt to understand, interpret, and describe this phenom through the collective voices of 8 Black women born and raised in the United States. Mama always said I was her curious child, always asking questions. I still live in Central Florida, where the area is multicultural, mix of global ethnicities and cultures. My experience with these occurrences continue with different women from different parts of the United States and in a different setting: faith, community, workplace, social, and civic interactions. The first research effort provided some questions and generated more questions. So yes, Mama, I am still asking questions.